Right, okay, so this is a online complaint about ThinkMoney. Now, if you don't know who ThinkMoney are, they're a banking system, or they are a bank. It's a telephone banking system based in the UK. And I've been with them for quite a few years now, and it used to be a really good bank. You know, it was one of the best banks that I've ever had. Actually, was the best bank I've ever had, and I've always sang their praises because usually when you used to ring them up, um, the issue used to get sorted out like that. But quite a lot has changed now, and the staff are not as helpful and actually detrimental now. So I would like to talk on about the way that I use Think Money first, and how is that causing me problems. So this is my telephone. It's a 2G telephone, and the reason I don't have a smart telephone is because in order to do some of the jobs which I do, people send me text messages, and I was finding when having a smart telephone that it was like 1 in 80, because it'd be a text message, but there would also be about 50 notifications from news organisations, and that there will be lots of people just sending me rubbish on WhatsApp. So I went back to this, and it's been a lot better using a 2G phone. I'm not being connected as much to modern technology, but as I use this phone to make phone calls and send messages, in order to do banking I need to have access to apps and stuff like that. So I use this iPad. I bought it from the second hand shop. It cost me about 80 quid, but it does the job. Now, like an idiot, I used it to listen to Spotify in the bath, and I didn't actually take it in the bath. That would be really idiotic. I put it at the quite far away at the side, but Murphy's Law has taken precedence really, and I've spilt quite a lot of cups of tea on this and spilt quite a lot of glasses of Coke, but I put I got a tiny little bit of water on it, and when them cups of tea and them glasses of Cokes have not broken it and not affected it whatsoever, this teaspoon of water has broken the device, so it no longer works, and that leaves a problem because I cannot access my banking system because I don't have a card. And the reason I don't have a card is because I struggle to accommodate for monthly payments, and I get paid monthly with my job. So what I do is that if it's a 4 day week, or if it's a 5 day week, I divide my disposable income. I divide my disposable income according to how many weeks are in the month, and send it to my Santander account, which I do have a card. So there's no reason for me to have a card, so I've never actually applied for one. And when I ring them up to try and access my money, one of the problems which I'm getting is that they ask for the security reasons, they ask for the make and model of this device. Now I know it's an iPad, but I'm not Steve Jobs, and I'm not an Apple genius. I don't have an Apple on a blue t-shirt. I would not know what the model of this device is. I know it's an iPad, I know it's a mini one, but that's basically all that I know. I'm not that tech savvy. That's why I'm using this as well. I'm not tech savvy. I don't really like technology. So I cannot answer that question because I cannot switch it on to find out what the model is as well. So the next question which they asked, they say, all right, okay, so what was your last transaction which you made? And I would not know, because in order to know that, I would need to get onto the app, and I cannot get onto the app because the device which I use to get onto the app, being this, is broken. So the next question after that is, how much do you have in your account? Now there's a bit of a problem with that as well, because in order to know that, I would need access to the app. And I do not have access to the app because this device is broken. So that's the problem which I'm facing at the moment, and that I cannot pass their security check. But there is information which I've given them, and this is all the information which I've given them. So I've given them my name, my middle name, my date of birth, the first line of my address, my postcode, my email address, my phone number, my account number, my sort code, my IBAN number, my SWIFT code, the 6-digit passcode that I use to get onto the app, what two payments my employer paid in, so that's in April and March now, what they paid in to the pence. I've actually looked at my last two pay slips and told them that the dates that they were paid in and the time, and also who my employer is. But even though I've given them all that, it's not good enough, which leaves us with a problem. I cannot access my money, and I'm running a bit low at the moment. I'm having to lend money at the moment because of this problem. Now, I've had to send them a picture of my passport in order to eradicate this problem. Now, the problem with that is that I've sent a picture of my passport in 1080p, but they're claiming that the passport is too low quality to actually see the information on. Now, I usually wear glasses, but even though I usually wear glasses, I can still see this information without my glasses on because it's that clear. So what I've done, I said, right, I recently sent a picture or a scanned copy of my passport to the American embassy in order to get into America, get a visa to get into America a couple months back, and I used this scanned copy for my visa into America, for the travel insurance. I also write books and stick them onto Amazon, so I need it for that. And quite recently I've sent it to the DVLA in order to renew my driving license, and all of them have accepted it. So quite clearly ThinkMoney would accept it. But the problem is that no, they wouldn't. And the reason that they have given is because it is a scanned copy, and they do not accept scanned copies. And when I've asked them why, they just not give me a reason. They just said, we don't accept scanned copies. So you've not accepted the photo, you've not accepted the scanned copy. I don't know what to do. And the problem, they've said, right, you're going to have to take another photo. But the problem with that is that the device that I would use to take a photo is this, and it's broken. That's the whole reason I'm in this mess. And the only other device that I can use to take the photo with is this. And this, I think the megapixel on this camera is like 3, quite clearly not good enough, so that leaves a problem. So I've had to get a friend to take a photo of my passport, which I've not really liked. I don't really like people taking pictures of my passport, but I've had to do it. It's the only way I could get around it. And email it to me. So he's emailed it to me, and I've sent that. But I'm not sure whether they will accept it, because they've not accepted previous pictures of my passport. It just seems that nothing is ever good enough, so you can't actually access their service, because I've told them that I want to close my account down now. So that's another problem which I'm having with the bank. One problem I'm having with the bank is that when you ring them up, you cannot hear a single thing that they're saying. And the reason for this, and it's quite important to hear what they're saying if it's telephone banking, but the reason for this is that there's 15 other conversations going on in the call centre at the time. And they must be packed like sardines because I can actually hear the conversations around them, and I can actually hear what they're saying as well. I've actually heard them give out numbers, which is for a company which is so pernickety about you passing their security measures. It's not very secure, is it? If I can hear the conversations going on at the side of it. But it sort of jumbles up what they're saying because you're hearing 15 conversations at once and I cannot hear what they're saying. And this is one of the things that they do when you complain. They change the topic of the conversation all the time. So they change the topic of the conversation to why this is the situation. I know why it is the situation. I know it's because, well, what they say is that the reason for that is that we're dealing with other customers at the moment. And I went, yeah, I know the reason why, but it still leaves me in the problem that I cannot perform the operation which I've rang you up to do, because in order to perform that operation, I need to be able to hear you, and I cannot hear you. So it leaves me with a problem, and I want to complain about that. But that's what they do. They change the topic of the conversation, and they always do this. It's like dealing with politicians when it comes to them. They always try to control the narrative. They change the object with a subject. They change the topic of a conversation. They change who the object is, who the subject is. They straw man. They they play all the logical fallacies, which they are, in order to do that. And they gaslight a lot. Which brings me on to Dave, which I rang up, I think it was Thursday now. I rang this guy up called Dave, and I made a complaint about him. I've already made a complaint about the ombudsman, and he says, no, you can't do that. You can't do that because you've got to complain to us first. And I said, I've already tried to complain to you first, and I cannot complain to you because I cannot hear what your staff are saying. And he continued to gaslight me at this point. He said, the problems which I'm receiving, I cannot possibly receive because they do not use call centres, and that all their staff work from home. So how can I hear 15 other conversations from a call centre if they do not use call centres? Which I told him, you do use call centres because I've got voicemails on my phone. Sorry, my phone computer just switched off. I've got voicemails on my phone which are clearly from a call centre. I'm going to play one now.
3 saved messages. Yesterday, 12:30 p.m.
Sorry, just pause it for a moment. So this illustrates perfectly what I'm saying, because he actually puts down the phone without actually hanging it up, so you can actually hear the other staff in the call centre. So Dave, if you ever happen to see this video, how can you not have call centres, but this is definitely from a call centre, and he actually mentions that it's from ThinkMoney. So
Oh, hi, this is Jerome, one of the supervisor from ThinkMoney. I believe you were asking for a supervisor about your concern yesterday, and since I was not able to reach you, just call our hotline 0161 779 5000. Have a good day. Bye.
Right, you can quite clearly hear other staff here in the background. This is a call centre. Can you even type in there? Right, I think I've made my point there. So they do use call centres, and later on in this conversation, he actually admitted to it as well. He says, we do use call centres, but we only use call centres in the Philippines. So the problems which I'm facing, which you try to gaslight me and tell me that I could not be facing, I could actually be facing, because that's the supervisor. Usually when you call in the normal members of staff, it's a lot louder than that. You know, the supervisor must be spread out a bit further than everyone else so you can hear him a bit better. But that is definitely from a call centre. So don't try to gaslight me on that. And so that's what he's done. And I'm still not got access to my money. It's been like 2 weeks now, and I'm running quite low at the moment. So that's the situation which I'm in. Just not got access to my money. They're trying to gaslight me all the time and tell me that up's down and down's up and left is right and right is left, all that, which is not very good staffing really. It's the sort of behaviour I accept off, you know, a public service where you've already been taxed for your money. But it's not the type of service that I expect of a private company, because I can just take my money elsewhere. And that's another thing as well. I've mentioned before that I want to close my account, and every time I say I want to close my account, they try to change the topic of the conversation, to the point where I've actually, upstairs I actually have a Japanese abacus, and I was moving the beads. Every single time I said I want to close my account, they would try to change the topic, and I would just say I want to close my account, and they would try to change the topic again, and I would just bring it back to I want to change my account. And every single time I did that, I was moving a bead, and I said, look, I've said this 10 times now. I want to change my close my account. Sorry, I want to close it. And I said, this is really rude behaviour now. Right, pack it in. And that's when we've started getting the links off them, which brings me to another point as well. Sorry about this. The links which they send never work. You go onto them and you have to type in your date of birth and your postcode. And you type in your date of birth and your postcode, and they do not work. It just says invalid and comes up with this big paragraph of red writing at the top of it. And you have to ring them up a few times to get one which works. So really, really bad service, really disappointed with ThinkMoney. Been a loyal customer of them for quite a long time, and sang their praises and tried to get other people to join them. But those days are over now. Oh, sorry, another point as well. Talking about these call centres in the Philippines. When I bought this service, they told me that it was British only call centres. And I mentioned this to Dave because I said to him, what, you've got call centres in the Philippines now? And he says, yeah, is there a problem with that? It's the same training, it's the same service, like that. And the way this Dave was speaking as well, it was really dragging out his sentences. So people who gaslight you, they can't just gaslight you, can they? They have to gaslight you with that stupid put on element of compartment, and that like they're so superior, and what they're saying to you is just common sense when it's not. So it was like, that's not a problem, is it? It's the same service, it's the same training, but it is a problem because you sold me this bank as a UK only bank. And when I've mentioned that to him, he says, yeah, but we've expanded. Yeah, I can quite clearly know that you've expanded because the Philippines is not in the United Kingdom, right? I know you've expanded, but the original relationship which I came to this company for has been broken, and it's no longer valid. It's a bit like if I owned a restaurant and I went to a supplier and he said that the £50 of beef which I bought from him every single week was British only, and we struck a deal on that being British beef. And then later down the line, like 8 years down the line, one of the workers at his company lets it slip that it's actually French beef now, or they've expanded into France. Well, yeah, I would have a problem with that because it would no longer be British beef, and you sold it me as British beef, and now it's British and French beef. And they just coming to you and saying, well, it's the same service, it's the same breed of cow, it tastes the same. It doesn't matter. You've missold me. You've changed the relationship to now where I'm being missold, and I do not like that. So I think that's all I've got to say now. But I might make another video depending on how this passport situation goes on. So yeah, that's all I need to say. So sayonara.